Thank you for that, both Lorraine and Kevin. Towards the hyena den. Let's check this side first. Now apparently 9-year-old Sunny, who comes all the way from Nebraska, has just started watching our live safaris and is excited to see the hyenas. I do hope they're out and about for you. Thought I heard something crashing. Oh yes, there's another vehicle. That's what I heard crashing. No sign of them here. Let me just get hold of the taxi who's just come in. Standing by. No sign. I will get back to your question about hyenas and how long they live. We just negotiated this particular area. Try and loop around to the other side. Now typically a hyena lives somewhere in the region of 10 to 30 years. But I have heard recorded cases of them living up to 16 to 20, so they can be quite old. But those are very unusual circumstances. Oh dear, all appears to be quiet at the den. I think that Kevin and Lorraine were right. We'll just readjust so I can show you the entrance. It seems as though the adults have headed off for a drink. And as a result, the cubs have disappeared inside. Just that little bit too late. And Lisa G, you are absolutely right. They have been behaving much like Karula, who to me has been elusive most of the times I've seen her. I've seen her for those brief few minutes and then she disappears down. And the hyenas this week have been doing the same thing. We've seen them once or twice, but very, very short periods of time they've been disappearing off. That might be because of what's happening around them in terms of kills. There might be lots of food to feed on elsewhere. When I last saw the large female who lives at this den, she was looking like she'd swallowed a beach ball. Very, very round-bellied. So they've obviously been eating well, but decided that this morning they would be thirsty and disappeared off to the dam as we approached the den. I'm going to do one more loop into the clearing that they sometimes lie in. We'll see if they're there. a slight smell to a hyena den. For those new viewers, just to give you a description, it smells like a combination of slightly rotting meat and wet dog. Now, finding my way into this might be a little bit tricky. See if these hyenas are being sneaky with us and hiding in their favorite clearing. They might be. Doesn't look like it. All is looking very, very quiet around the hyena den. Oh well. Sorry everybody, but it is one of the joys of a live safari is the animals don't always want to be on camera. Sometimes they do just vanish. But for Cine, they can live for quite a long time. So they've lived longer than lions. Lions only live to about 10 to 13 years maybe. The male lions usually average about 10. The females live a little bit longer. Nope, I've got to their clearing. Doesn't look like there's any hyenas hiding in the mist, unfortunately. Oh well, let us continue on. Maybe we'll encounter them coming back from the dam. Sneaky things. I suppose they're all hanging out around that buffalo carcass, although I would hope that most of that's gone by now. Okay. Let us re-navigate out of my favorite den site in the world. At least I didn't get lost this time. At least we found it straight away. Oh, gosh, here's Jeandré. Don't worry, never fear, we will be back again at some point to check whether or not these hyenas are out and about. Everybody duck, watch your heads. Especially in these thorns. Now what will probably happen for the rest of the day, depending on the temperature of course that we get to, but the hyenas will probably go and lie up somewhere. The cubs will stay hidden in the den and the adults will find a nice secure place in a drainage line or under a tree and spend their morning there. Probably only return here late this afternoon. That was interesting. Managed to catch the side of a knobthorn. If you've ever seen those cartoons when people stand on rakes and the other side lifts up and bashes them, that very nearly happened there. Block has become the place of the 20-point turn on a very regular basis. Any noses poking out? Doesn't look like it. They've all gone to bed like good little hyenas. heads back to my original mission, which was to go and see if I can find that leopard at Buffelshoek Dam. Hopefully he proves to be less elusive than the hyenas and than Nkuhuma has been over the last few days. Are proving to be elusive. Let's continue back to that point I raised about the bird question as to why females are bigger than males. And Raisa has mentioned that she read that peregrine falcons, the female is bigger than the male purely because they hunt different sized prey so that they're not in competition with each other. And that's a very valid point. It is an interesting observation. The reason that it's interesting though is because in most animals and in all other bird species in general, the male is bigger so that he is not in competition with the female. So say something like a woodpecker, the males have slightly broader and harder beaks so that they can tackle the different parts of the tree, so he's not in competition with the female. And the same goes with something like a giraffe, where the male is taller, is bigger, and he actually feeds with his head up much higher than the female, who tilt her neck down. And yes, I think the size difference would absolutely make a difference. It does reduce the competition between them. And maybe in peregrine falcons that is the reason. I don't know, it's still an interesting question in my head, because usually in the animal kingdom it's the opposite way around. The male is usually bigger and stronger, except in, say, the case of the hyena or in birds of prey. But definitely a very valid point. To sniff or sniffing the air as I drive along. I'm sure I just caught a whiff of some pachyderms, but I don't see any of them. They might have crossed through sometime during the night. I'm sure you're wondering what Scott has been up to, and it seems as though he's also on the tracks of some elephants. So let's head across to him, and I will catch up with you a little bit later.
Welcome back everyone, and we have just stumbled upon a herd of animals that are going to be wonderful to view in these misty conditions. Take a closer look, it's a little bit thick. You may hear a few branches breaking. There we go. How awesome is this? I don't know why they were moving quite quickly when we first saw them. Maybe they could smell some tasty foliage up ahead. Oh, look at the cute little baby there. A couple of them. But thankfully now they seem to have got to these bushes which they possibly could have smelt. They were marching with purpose just a moment ago, so glad that they've stopped now that they're in a little open clearing for you to see. I'm not too sure how many elephants are within this herd, but there certainly appear to be quite a few youngsters, which is great. There certainly do seem to be a lot of elephants around at the moment. Most of the roads we've driven this morning have been covered in fresh elephant tracks from last night, on top of all the vehicle tracks. And because elephants aren't territorial, their numbers will fluctuate greatly over the weeks and months. Sometimes they are numerous, and at other times they have dispersed themselves elsewhere into the Kruger Park. Well, there's been quite a few vehicles driving around on Juma this morning. Taxon, Aubrey, Ephraim, Andrew, Jamie and myself. And none of us have come up with any lion or leopard tracks. So I'm possibly thinking about heading over to Arathusa to see if they've had any luck. Oh, she's going to come straight towards us now. Toenails there, well not that little I guess, large toenails. She's a very pretty elephant, this lady. She looks quite young and in great condition. Rather than trying to snap off that knobthorn acacia, she simply pushed her head into the bush and now is chewing through it. Branches, leaves, thorns and all. The knobthorn acacia's got little hooked thorns, but the elephant's mouth is tough and has no problem processing them. Having a little bit of trouble breaking the branches, it appears, so she has adopted the same technique as before, using very large flat molars which are full of angled ridges, perfect for chewing on leaves and branches. As Wium zooms out, you get a great idea of just how misty it still is this morning. At one stage it looked like the sun was going to burn it off, but the mist has fought back. And isn't this wonderful? Oh, hello, lady. What's wrong? Why all of a sudden have you got frustrated with us? Well, some of you may have got to know a certain young elephant that has been named Wrinkly Bottom. And I sadly haven't been lucky enough to spend much time with it, so I don't know it as well as you guys do. But James has just asked, is this Wrinkly Bottom? And I'm not entirely sure if it is. I'm just going to have to drive forward in order to get a better view of them. I can't reverse anymore because we're too close to these ellies, and as you can see there's a lot of our equipment in the way. I'm just going to loop ahead. And then turn around and get us a better view of them. So James, I'm not too sure. I'm not sure if any of you guys have noticed that any of the young calves within this herd are wrinkly bottom. What I do know is that the behavior of wrinkly bottom is usually quite characteristically playful, and none of these elephants have shown any sign of playing just yet. What is going on here? Why did that one elephant come running out of the vegetation there? One youngster.
Lion track crossing that way.
Okay. Wium spotted some lion tracks, but they're from the Birmingham males when they left the property 2 nights ago. So I don't think it's a lion that these elephants have run away from. We have also driven the southern boundary before coming onto this road, which is called the Weaver's Nest. I didn't see any lion tracks coming back into Juma. Creep forward a few meters to give Wium a few more angles to work. Well, I've just heard a wonderful update on the radio, so I hope Jamie does have her game drive channel turned on, because she is closer to where those animals have been located. Just heard Jamie call herself into that sighting, so you've got a little surprise in store, and that's great news. The animals are moving through a very thick area though, so let's hope that Aubrey, who found them, manages to stay with them, or failing that, Jamie manages to relocate them a little bit later on. I'm just going to creep forward one more time. These are making life a little bit difficult for us, getting very short visuals before having to move the vehicles around. This should work well. Oh, morning. We just missed a big tree getting pushed down, but it's tricky business knowing where to film here, so that's why I just said Wium. And there's not much to see now, but the ellies are feeding on it. You can kind of see it waving in the background there. That was vertical earlier, now you can see it's on its side. There are some branches growing, well, that look like they're growing vertically upwards, but those actually would have been horizontal. And it was the big cow that we saw earlier that flattened that tree in order to more easily access the leaves. Once again, I'm going to probably have to turn the vehicle around, although Wium's found a tiny gap. Look at all these elephants. Where are they coming from? I guess that is the beauty of this misty morning. We can't see very far. Getting pleasantly surprised by a surprisingly large herd of elephant that this is turning out to be. And yet another one. Well, that female looks like she's in season. You may have noticed between her back legs wasn't your typical state of an elephant cow, so we'll give her a bit of a wide berth. She may be a little bit hormonal at the moment. To be quite a tricky area to film in, but Wium's doing a great job. Look at this mist. Well, thanks very much to Gilly, who's all the way in Milwaukee, and Debbie in Ontario for providing us with a bit more information on Wrinkly Bottom's mother. And she's apparently got a very distinctively straight tusk that helps to distinguish her from other elephants. So I don't think that this is therefore Wrinkly Bottom, any of the youngsters we're seeing here, because the elephant cows have all got regular tusks, as far as I've seen. Let's try and reposition one more time. Let's see if we don't have any more luck. I've seen quite a few vehicles streaming past us on our southern boundary in a westerly direction towards Arathusa. I'm wondering if something's not going on there. It could well be the case. But sadly, we basically have to be in visual of a Arathusa vehicle before we've got any idea of what they've got in that area. The radio comms are not too good. But there may be some action across there, which is good prospects. The elephant cow on the right of the screen is the one that's pushed down the knobthorn tree earlier that she's still feeding on. I mentioned that one female looked like she was coming into season, and Kathy in Memphis, Tennessee would like to know if that just happens naturally on their own accord, or whether it's triggered by elephant bulls and must. And it typically, as far as I'm aware, comes when they are ready. Every 3 to 5 years they will give birth, and therefore it's got nothing to do with the males coming into must. All that males coming into must does is ensure that the males are traveling large distances, focused on seeking out females who are in fact in season. So there's one last elephant. I think it's a young bull that's still going to come past us. And then I think we're going to leave this herd to continue feeding through this area and head off to Arathusa. But I think we may get a little bit of action from him as he passes by. So let's see what happens. I wonder how old he is. Maybe 8 or 9 would be my guess. So he's still got a couple more years before he will be inclined to move out of the herd and join a bachelor herd of young bulls, which he will spend time with learning the ways of the wild. Speaking of guessing ages of elephants, Mohammed on Twitter would like to know, how do we go about aging elephants, or guessing how old they are? It's really difficult, Mohammed, and I certainly don't consider myself a professional when aging elephants, or any animal really. It's incredibly difficult. And what I'm looking at here is mainly its size and the fact that it is still with a herd. So elephants will leave a herd anywhere between 10 and 15 years of age. Oh, you can hear some more trees getting obliterated, cracking in the distance. So the fact that he is still with the herd, coupled with his size, would make me guess anywhere at around 8 or 9 years. But like I said, unless you actually know when it was born, it's so hard to tell, as it is difficult to distinguish ages of humans. If you lined up 10 humans in a row, even though we are humans and we know our own species better than probably any other species, it would be difficult for us to accurately guess the ages of even humans. So it was just a guess, as I know a lot of viewers for some reason love to know the age of animals, but it's something that most guides don't quite understand, because what difference does it make whether it's 7 or 8 or 9? But it's kind of human tendency to want to know the age of animals, but nobody can really provide anyone with the correct answer. So it's one of those strange things that just happens in the safari industry. Of course, the leopards and the lions that we are able to follow very closely for a few reasons. There's not very many of them, so it's easy to distinguish one from another. And the fact that they're highly territorial means that you can quite accurately know how old they are. But most of the other animals, it will be very difficult to know accurate how old they are. There's another knobthorn acacia that got obliterated. I just want to see if we can get you a gap. Not easy. You can maybe get through that little gap there and see where the branch is cracked. Further down to the right is where the tree snapped, I think. There you can see a tiny bit of kind of yellow bark through there. That's the tree that we heard breaking earlier. Is this youngster going to come and say good morning to us? It's thinking about it. Certainly thinking about it. Hello. Keep coming. We don't mind if you come all the way up to us. No. Chickened out. There goes Andrew. He's driving around looking for some cool things to drone. He's on drone duty this morning. Into one more gap here. It sounds like Jamie is getting closer to the action, so soon I'm sure you'll be jumping across onto her vehicle. Few elephants here, maybe about 20 to 30. Oh, look at this fork-tailed drongo. It flew right up to the vehicle. We obviously chased up a little insect that it flew in to catch. And we're just going to wait for Jamie to get into a good position in that sighting, and then we're going to rush you across to her. But in the next few moments, be ready for a change of scenery. And it sounds like she is in that position now, so without further ado, we're going to rush you across to Jamie as this young elephant runs off into the distance. Perfect timing. Enjoy, and we will catch up a little bit later.
Welcome back, and we have a little surprise for you on this misty morning. Look who we've got here on top of a termite mound. 2 lionesses in the mist, although the mist is nearly gone. I'm still not too sure who this is. And we have Aubrey, the wonderful Aubrey, to thank for our sighting. He found them on close to Buffelshoek Dam, coming this way. Who have we got here? It's just 2 females. Try and grab my binoculars and see. Have a look and see if we can work out who they are from their whisker spots and their nose patterns. I have my suspicions. Come girl, look here. That's not looking here. Come on. I wonder who we're seeing. Definitely gonna say Nkuhuma. But they look, I don't think it's the 2 young females we've been with over the last few days. I could be wrong. But how exciting is this? Back once again on Juma. And with all of the chaos that's been happening with the lion prides over the last few days, or the last few months actually, it'll be very interesting to see who we've got here. I think we're going to need to reposition. It's a bit of a tricky block. I might have to go all the way around so that we can get a view of their faces. They've only just laid down. Apparently they were moving the whole time. I've only just found them now. Yeah, I think let's go around and see if we can get a better view. It's going to be tricky. I'm just looking for ways to travel. I think we're going to have to go to the other side of the termite mound. Bear with me for a moment, folks. as we loop. It's going to take us a little while to get around in this thick block, but then we can go and get a closer view of their faces and work out who we've got here. Two young girls that we've been seeing regularly that fled from the Birmingham boys recently, and if so, what made them decide to come back here? And if it's not them, then is it the two older missing Nkuhuma lionesses? It's just the two of them, so if it is the older two, then where is that little sub-adult female? Places in the Sabi sands, they picked the one place with rocks off-road. Hello, good girls. I think it is the two younger lionesses. What I'm going to do is just shift around. Let's have a look at this one first. So camera shy. Okay, girl, we need to see your face. Now for our more regular viewers, you know what to look for. Spots on the nose and whisker patterns. Who have we got here? Let me know what you guys think, and you can do that on #SafariLive on Twitter, or you can email through to questions@wildearth.tv. She's flopped down now. So I think let's keep moving and see if we can get a view of the second lioness. I still haven't had a good look at her. And then we'll go into a little bit of history for those of you joining us for the first time as to what's happening here with these lions. How beautiful is this image and this view? From the position that she's at, we are infinitely lower than her. We're actually looking down on her. We're looking up at her. She's looking down on us. Big thank you to Safari Hayes, who's responded to my question as to who we think these two are. She tells me, and I agree, that these are the two younger females that we've been watching over the last few days. And in this particular individual, we're looking for a scratch, apparently next to her left ear, as well as the two dots on her nose. But this is definitely the two younger lionesses. So they've come all the way back after the events of the last few days. Now, for those of you who might have missed out, the Birmingham boys came through and chased them away off their buffalo kill. They were there for about 4 days feeding on that buffalo, all by themselves, and the Birmingham boys came rushing in with an unknown female, and these two fled to Arathusa and to Red Dam. After that, we don't know where they disappeared to, but they've obviously made their way back to Djuma now, 2 days later. Well, at least we've got one ID, for sure. Cucino, John, you're right, they're absolutely not the Birmingham boys. Spot on. And yes, there is some blood around the edge of her mouth there on the right side. It looks fresh. It's hard to tell if it's hers. Teresa, John, that you picked up on the fact that she's got a little bit of blood around her mouth. She does. It is very fresh looking. She could have scratched herself. It doesn't look like they've been feeding on a kill. There would definitely be more blood around, so that's probably hers. As to how she acquired an injury, we don't know. We need to wait for her to yawn to double check the condition of her teeth. Doesn't look too inconvenienced though. I thought for a second her cheek looked swollen, but I think it's just because of the way she's resting her head on that branch. She's kind of hooked it into her lip. That cannot be comfortable. But it appears to be because she's nodding off. These are such good looking lionesses. I mentioned before that it must be very scary for them at the moment. The two of them are quite young and will probably only have ever known time spent with their pride. And although it's not uncommon for lion prides to split at times like these, it must still be a scary thing. And I know that we're all hoping that they're going to reunite with the two older females as well as that sub-adult female. We just don't know where they are at the moment. They've completely disappeared. Looks as though they're going to be up and about. Or is she just going to go and lie next to her sister? Got to double check. When we were watching those lionesses a couple of days ago, the one female had a hole on the inside of her back left leg. It's not the one that just lay down, I don't think. Was it her back left? Yes, it was her back left. So we'll be keeping an eye out for that to see how it's healing. Aubrey, who did find us this sighting, I'm sure he would like to have a view of these lionesses. They've moved now, so he can't actually see them. So I'm going to see if he's going to want to come in here. Oh, he seems to be pulling out of the sighting. Stick with these ladies until they decide to move. and see if we can catch a glimpse of that injury that Vicky reminded me about. I'm not sure if I'm imagining it, but they still don't seem as well relaxed as we've seen them in the past when they were with the whole pride. Anyway, she's found a perfect perch up there. Aubrey is wanting to come in and have a look. Just bear with me because he did find the sighting. So I'm going to shuffle forward so that he can see. We'll find a nice position. We can always return to where we are in a few moments. Let me see what the view is like from over here for a moment, so that Aubrey can have a chance and his guests can have a chance to look at these two extraordinary creatures. Not too bad. And we'll just spend a little bit of time here and then we'll head back to our original position. I don't know if they're going to spend the rest of the day here or not. Or if they're going to continue moving. Apparently they were highly mobile. So it'll be interesting to see. I wonder how much ground they've covered in the last 2 days. We don't know where they went from 2 days ago around Red Dam. We just know that in response to the Birmingham boys' sudden appearance, they moved about 5 kilometers in 40 minutes. And they've come all the way back here to the top northeastern corner of Nkuhuma. In completely the opposite direction of where I would have expected to see them. Which just serves to show that you shouldn't try and predict anything out here. Especially not lionesses that are running scared. She found the most uncomfortable looking branch in the entire area to rest her head on. That's part of a monkey orange, and I can speak from experience when I say that monkey oranges are incredibly uncomfortable. She's apparently decided that this is the way to go. Now, just a little catch-up for anybody who is a new viewer and joining us for the first time. When I first started working here, which was about 3 months ago now, in July, mid-July, this Nkuhuma pride, of which these females were part of, was 8 members strong, consisted of 5 adult females, 2 sub-adult females, and 1 almost adult male nicknamed Junior, and they were generally ruled over by the 2 dominant males in this area known as the Matimba males. And a couple of weeks after that there was a sudden incursion of 5 young male lions known as the Birmingham boys. Very big males but still very young and inexperienced. And they came in and caused absolute chaos around the area. And in the end, they killed one of the females, they killed one of the sub-adult females, and the rest of the pride fled. We don't know what happened to Junior, or the 2 older lionesses and the young sub-adult female. And for a long time, these are the only 2 that we have seen. And the Birmingham boys, we did see one of these females mating with the Birmingham boys about 2 weeks ago. So there is a bit of a peace mission happening between the 2 groups. But now it seems as though the Birmingham boys are mating with another female to the south of our boundary, We don't know who she is. We've only just seen a brief glimpse of her, and there's lots of controversy as to where she comes from. And at the moment, these two are all we have left of the Nkuhuma pride. That's not to say that the others aren't dead or anything. They're probably somewhere around. It's just a matter of them reuniting. And I think that those contact calls that they made the other night was what attracted the Birmingham boys. They were probably trying to link up with the rest of the pride, but they definitely didn't get the desired result. We have watched the most incredible stories unfold over the last few months at Djuma, not only with the lions but also the leopards that move through this area. It has been a distinct time of change, and there's so many stories happening, not just with the Nkuhumas but with the Birmingham boys, as well as the Styx pride and the Matimbas who've moved into Londolozi, which is quite incredible. And Marla, you were wondering if we have a big cat week planned in November. And yes, absolutely we do. There will be the Nat Geo specials happening around, I think, the end of November this year. And who knows what would have happened by then with these big cats. It's going to be phenomenal to see. It will also be, for Marla and any other viewers, there will also be some Nat Geo specials that will be, I believe, around the 10th and 11th of October. So we will have Hayden and Peter Pretorius coming across. Sorry, 13th and 14th of October. So we will have Hayden and Peter Pretorius back with us once again for those specials. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And be able to get to spend some time with these incredible girls. That branch is slowly giving way under the weight of her head. It's amazing. 2 days ago we saw them with enormously full bellies, and they have burned off quite a lot of that already, just from moving around. They gorged themselves for about 4 days on that buffalo, and already they're at the point now where they're going to start looking for food once again. And we came to the conclusion that they didn't kill that buffalo themselves, and it would have been astounding if they had, for 2 females on their own. But they're more than capable of taking down something like an impala or a nyala, searching for food. Now, I mentioned earlier when they were running around to points of safety. Now, prides like this have core home ranges that they're very, very familiar with, and then a sort of a fluctuating territorial boundary. But for these two out on their own, Vicky, I am in agreement with you. I think that they're sticking around Djuma and the sort of northern section of Arathusa, because those are parts of the areas that they know very, very well. They'll know all of the secret paths. And typically the Nkuhumas' home range stretches all the way from Torchwood up into Buffelshoek and even into Manyaleti at times, and down Djuma and into Arathusa, which means that the rest of the pride could actually be anywhere at the moment, but I think that they are trying to stick to familiar areas for now. Just waiting until they have the opportunity to meet up with the rest of them, if they ever do, which I'm really hoping that they do. Now, in terms of reuniting, I think where is she going to go? Reposition herself on a termite mound. I think she's decided that her headrest just wasn't cutting it. It's a beautiful silhouette there. How yummy, Sphinx, just talking about these two out on their own and the fact that they're split off from the rest of their pride. You were wondering if they couldn't track each other by scent. It depends. They'd have to be, yes, they could. And we saw it actually happen with the one female who followed her sister. And she went in a completely direct route from the buffalo carcass to where her sister was sitting at the opposite side of the dam. So they can track each other by scent, but I think that they have to also come across that scent. It has to be fairly fresh. And in terms of the distance they could cover in a day, by the time they find old scents, the lionesses that they're trying to find could be far away. But just bear in mind as well that we don't know why they've split off or what's happening, what the reason behind it is. It could well be that the two older females are being protective of the young sub-adult, and maybe of Junior, we just don't know. They've split away for some reason, and it could also be because these young females, their bodies went into false estrus and they got split up whilst mating with the Birmingham boys. But in terms of relocating each other, maybe it's just that they're too scared to venture too far towards where the Birminghams are. I honestly don't know exactly what's happening here. We're just going to have to wait and see as to whether or not they're going to reunite. She does look a little bit more relaxed now. So it'll be interesting to see what these two do. Now I've said that these two are young, but Gwen, your question was whether or not they're adults or sub-adults. They're definitely adults. What she gets. Where are you going, big girl? Where are you going to go lie down? They are adult females. You can see they're nice and big. They're probably about 4 or 5 years old, so still young. Thanks, big girl. Perfect. The other two, I think, are slightly older. I'm not too sure exactly how old, but I think they're around 8. So there's a good generation between these two and the older two. And And I have mentioned, because they are sort of a similar age, that I think that there's a very good chance that either they will almost definitely be sisters, and failing that, cousins. You can see now how well she's digested that buffalo. Looking very relaxed at the top there. In terms of aging lions, just in case you were wondering, the best way is to have a look at the condition of their teeth in their canines, whether or not they're worn down or yellowed. And then the next point to look at, although that can be genetic as well, is to have a look at the amount of black on their nose. Generally, lions' noses tend to darken with age, so that at around 5 years old, they're almost 50% covered with black dots. When you see subadults, their noses are completely pink. But bear in mind that you cannot apply the same principle to leopards. Leopards can keep pink noses all the way through their lives. And as I mentioned, they were mating with the Birmingham boys, or at least one of these ladies was mating with the Birmingham boys. But it's probably a false estrus, and it'd be interesting to know whether these two have ever had any cubs before. They're at the right age where they should have already had their first set of cubs, sort of before all of the Birmingham boy drama. And they might have mated with the Matimbas before all of this happened. We just don't know at this point.
For now, they're all together. You all can see better.
It was the female on the top of the termite mound that was mating with the Birmingham boys. So Lisa G, it wasn't a sub-adult, it was the adult female that we've seen before us. They are young, but they are adults. The sub-adult female, she's probably about a year and a half, or just over a year and a half now. She's still too young to be mating. She'd only really be mating at around 2.5 years old, so she's still got another year, which in a way put her at risk when the Birmingham boys did come in and take over, because she was just right at the cusp of the age where her mother wouldn't quite be ready to mate again, and neither would she, which put her at the risk of infanticide. Now, for those of you who don't know or aren't familiar with lion behavior, when a pride takeover does happen, the incoming males will set out to kill the cubs of the previous males in order to bring the other females back into estrus and to pass on their own genetic line instead of investing any energy looking after another male's cubs. So those sub-adults, though they were right on the cusp, as we did see, the Birmingham boys did kill one of them. She probably got caught in the middle of a conflict. And because those males are so young, and because there's so much testosterone flying around when a pride takeover does happen, the males get hyped up, and any kind of slightly aggressive situation, which happens with lions regularly, even within prides, they batter each other over food. Occasionally they get in each other's space and snarl at each other. But because of the heightened levels of tension, it just resulted in explosions that unfortunately resulted in the death of one of the adult Nkuhumas and that sub-adult female. And at the moment, although we when I first came back to work about 3 weeks ago, we did know that the sub-adult and junior was still alive. Excuse me. We still haven't had any updates since then. They were last seen on a buffalo kill in Simbambili and disappeared after that.
And what happened now, the problem is a lot of these 5 males coming in, as you understand, the new males come into the area where there is a lot of them.
I would change position, but I think this is probably the best view we're going to get for now. There's a very thick bush in our way, so we'll stick with them here for now. The mist has completely burned away. It's now bright and clear this morning, and they're probably enjoying the break. We've no idea how far they moved last night, but I think they must be exhausted.
Killing the cubs. This one luckily doesn't have much young cubs, but they were juveniles they had. But I believe they're actually. It seems that the killing was happening and they all spread around a lot. And but these 5, they're still around. This morning I heard that they were past half past where we cannot go. So what they do, they are all just playing and running around away from them because they already witnessed how bad it is bird fire. Understanding that a lot of times when that happens,
One of the females that we are missing has distinctly orange eyes, and that has earned her the nickname Amber Eyes. And Safari Haze, you were suggesting that maybe Amber Eyes is the mother of these 2 females, and the reason, or what we did see, was the 3 of them, so these 2 plus the amber-eyed female, on a termite mound and then hunting buffalo late into the night with Brent and myself about 2 weeks ago. Might even have been more now. Time flies. It could be. It's entirely possible. Either way, she will be related to them. She'll either be their mother or their aunt. Is essentially how lion pride female dynamics work. So lion prides can exist for generations and generations, for hundreds of years. The female line will carry on unless they are completely destroyed for some reason by, say, an incoming male or any kind of disease. But for the most part, this Nkuhuma female line could have been going on for years. Because essentially the females stay together, the daughters born into the pride will stick around for the rest of their lives, and essentially keep the genetic line fresh by mating with different males. And that's why, although it was brutal and very sad, it's why takeovers like the one conducted by the Birmingham boys is so necessary to keep those genetics fresh. Because once those sub-adult females did reach mating age, if the Birmingham boys hadn't taken over, there is a very good chance that the Matimba males would have mated with them. Lions don't know about inbreeding. They're not governed by the same rules that we are. They're governed purely by biology and instinct. So they've evolved to keep these methods of keeping genetic lines clean and fresh. And the awesome thing about the area that we're in is that it's an open system. So they can do that themselves. They can move around. They've got free rein to move where they want and keep switching through males. Now these 2 at some point are going to want to be on the hunt. And one thing that could well be on their menu is a zebra, which apparently Scott is looking at right now. So let's head across to him and I will catch up with you a little bit later.
Welcome back, everyone. And we are on our western boundary of Arathusa here. It's turning out to be an absolutely beautiful, beautiful day. Doesn't seem to be much going on Arathusa here, although the radio comms are basically non-existent, so difficult to tell if the guys have found anything here. But like I said, it's turning out to be a beautiful day and good to be out exploring. This is the area where Tingana and the Anderson male leopard, two big dominant male leopards, have kind of a buffer zone, and every time I come here I hope that we're going to bump into either one of them, but more specifically the Anderson male. I've only seen him twice, and both sightings were kind of brief and haven't really ever spent a considerable amount of time with him. So hopefully he has finished that giraffe that he killed a few days ago on Londolozi and may have come back north into this area. I think these are two zebra stallions, possibly youngsters that haven't been able to secure their own harem just yet. I've just heard an interesting bird called. There it goes again. And that is a Klaas's cuckoo, which has come back from its migration. So it's back in the area. And it's an incredibly beautiful bird, bright emerald green. It would be wonderful if we could find it for you. It sounds like it's quite far off the road though. But what I'm going to do is find a picture for you in the book. There it goes again. And it's this individual here. It doesn't migrate too far. It's an intra-African migrant. I'm not sure how far north it does go into Africa. But it's also got a cousin in this area that we will also see called the Jeandré cuckoo. So they both look fairly similar. And if you can find one, especially on a sunny morning like this, it will glisten and glow, or both of them will. And most of the cuckoos that we get here are migratory, so we don't have them here during the winter months, and it's going to be great to see them again. They also provide a lot of great chorus during the summer. A lot of them are very vocal birds. Where it's sitting. Usually when they call, they are often perched up high on the tips of the trees that they call trees, but can't seem to work out where it is. I think it could be a little bit far off though. What's quite interesting, sorry about the bizarre how when we're not even moving we can still lose signal. Interestingly, also also on the rump of this giraffe, you can see a scar, possibly from a past lion attack. Also see, zebra. I often say giraffe instead of zebra. I'm not sure why that happens. But you can see where the stripes don't kind of match up perfectly. And you see it fairly commonly on zebra. They've got incredibly powerful hind quarters that allow them to kick lion off them. But what I would like to show you is the other zebra's tail, to give you a comparison as to what a healthy zebra looks like as opposed to a not so healthy zebra. I mean, that's a massive difference. Look at how short and stubby that tail is. Not nearly as effective for swatting the flies as its friends. Unless, of course, it's just trying a new hairstyle, trying to set a new trend. You can also see how its mane is quite floppy, flopping down to the one side. It's also a good indicator of zebra that are not in the best of condition. Whereas the other individual's mane is sticking up perfectly vertically. Okay, well, let's carry on our search. Come on, look. Oh, I've just seen it. You got it again. There it is. Can you believe it? Look at that emerald green glistening. Yay! No. It has flown off, but at least we got a glimpse of the creature that we've heard calling so much to be the zebra.
Welcome back, and we've just repositioned to see if we can get a different view of these two lionesses. They're now very, very flat cats, as you can see. It also just gave Andrew a chance to come into where we were and enjoy the sighting from that side. So we have just shifted around for the moment, but never fear, we will be back around with them on the other side. Now, we do apologize for the signal issues that Scott's been having and the sudden and rather abrupt return to my position. Apparently, Scott spotted a classes cuckoo or an emerald cuckoo. I'm not sure which one it was, but that's still very, very exciting to hear them calling once again. The classes, although they don't migrate, they're very silent birds, and we hardly ever see them in winter. So it's nice to hear them once again, but never fear, we will be able to see them plenty. We will have plenty of opportunities to see them again as the summer progresses.
So, female gives birth to about 4 pups. And fight sometimes.
Now, I think it's safe to assume at this point, as the day starts to heat up tremendously, that these lionesses are not going to be moving very far at any point. But tonight will definitely be, or this evening will definitely be, prime hunting time for them. And I'm sure that if they stick around on Djuma, either tonight or tomorrow, they're going to need to go hunting. There you can see that beautiful tree that they're positioned under, which almost looks to me like a big tambuti, which is interesting. Don't often see them in this kind of terrain, but it's probably because it's on a termite mound. But a beautiful space for them and plenty of shade to spend the day in. I don't think these two lionesses are going to be moving much over the next hour or so of the sunrise safari, so I'll put it to you as to whether or not you want to stay with them for a while, or whether we should head out and look for other things and check in with them on the sunset safari this afternoon. Just let me know your thoughts and feelings, and you can do that on #SafariLive on Twitter, or you can email through to questions@wildearth.tv and let us know what you'd like us to do. Personally, I don't think that they're going to move from here. They're looking very comfortable and very sleepy. I think they're going to stick around. And I think what I'm going to do is loop back around to where we were on the other side of the termite mound, just to share the last view of them. See if I can find a nice easy way around. I think I have. Try not to put Jeandré in top thorn. Don't worry, Andrew, you shop there. Shop, thank you. Just making sure that everybody gets a good view as well. And I'm going to take the opportunity to take off my jumper. It's very hot already this morning. As I said, they will definitely need to hunt again soon. They've expended most of that energy already that they got from the buffalo kill. Even though they did spend 4 days gorging themselves, they don't have metabolisms like we do. If we were to eat the average Sunday dinner or Christmas dinner every day for 4 days, we definitely would put on weight. But for these two, they expend so much energy and they've got such rapid metabolisms that it doesn't work like that for them. So they're definitely going to need to be hunting in the next few days. And as I said, I don't think they took down that buffalo themselves, but something like a small calf of a breeding herd of buffalo or nyala or kudu, they could definitely manage. But it will be an interesting test of their skills, because not only have they always enjoyed the company of a pride, but they've also always had extra claws and teeth to help them hunt. But that instinct is there, and lionesses are such brilliant hunters. They're going to be fine at providing for themselves. Okay, so the general consensus seems to be to take us onwards, and that is what I shall do. So thank you for your answers, Steve and Jenny, as well as Zai. And yes, absolutely, Yummy Sphinx, I will be looking out for a baby giraffe. I'll see what I can provide for you. The last time, I believe, it was close to Sandy Patch Road in that nice open clearing with Scott yesterday. And we'll go and have a look and see if it's there. I first want to just check around Buffelshoek Dam. And I think I might have spotted a giraffe on our way into this lion sighting. So I'm going to go and see if he's still hanging around there. But let's leave these lionesses for now. But never fear, I promise we will be back with them. Probably on the sunset safari to try and see what their plans are. Especially at that time of evening when they might be hunting. Let's head out. Duck our heads and head back onto the road. Just waving goodbye to some of the other people in the sighting. And we definitely owe Aubrey a big show of thanks for finding those lionesses for us. Oh, Scott's got Franklin fighting. Let's head across there.
Welcome back, everyone, and look at this. This is really interesting stuff. These two francolins are having a battle. And it's two males. I can tell that it's two males because they've got spurs coming out of the back of their legs, which the females lack. Please have another fight. What they were doing is they were jumping up into the air, kicking one another. Fascinating to see, and I've actually never seen it before. These are crested francolins. You can hear a few calling all around us, and it seems like the one on the road might be the victor because the other one has now moved off. But if we just wait a few moments, maybe we'll see another round of fighting. That was incredible. The first for me, like I say, and that's the great thing about being on safari, is you never know what surprises you are going to come across. I'm not sure if you guys managed to see the class's cuckoo that was calling earlier, but we did get a glimpse of it. And I think it may have been as you lost our signal. But interestingly enough, we've moved probably a mile away from that area and have heard another one calling. And it's the first time that I've heard those birds calling this summer, and great stuff. Always exciting to hear new sounds. One sound that I'm looking forward to is the chip of the woodlands kingfisher. That should be coming soon. Sad, it looks like these francolins have managed to resolve who's the boss, and they've both gone their separate ways. Let's watch what happens here though, because I can just see another one approaching the male. Maybe it's a female. male's just disappeared on the right, and I think the one on the left could be a female. They both look very similar, other than the fact that the female will lack the spurs coming out of their back legs. Let me see if there's a picture in the book to show you. Where are we looking here? Oh yeah, here we go. So this is who was having the fight, the crested francolin. And you'll see the spur coming out of the back of the male's leg. And there's the lady there. Looks very similar in terms of feathers, but no spur coming out of the back. Great. Well, the good news is that Jamie has been successful in tracking down the animal she went to go and look for. So enjoy, and we will be making our way slowly back towards Djuma, as we're having no luck with the radio comms or signal here on Arathusa.
Well, welcome back. And unfortunately, not a baby giraffe, but for Yummy Sphinx, it was the best I could do at short notice. He is very, very camera shy, this particular bull. When I pulled up, he disappeared behind the tree, and I think if I move now, he's going to disappear again. But not the baby giraffe we're expecting, but a very mature giraffe bull. He's got that nice, deep, dark color that they get at sort of 15 years of age. And apparently they start secreting, or I know that they do because I've smelt them before, they can secrete a very foul-smelling pheromone that female giraffe find terribly attractive at this age. They're known as stink bulls. It's almost like a must period for an elephant. And it comes with a distinct scent of feces. But it's something that females find irresistible in a big male like this. Now, I almost thought he looked like the one with the broken ankle, but when he moved away from us, he was absolutely fine. Here he is, camouflaged in the trees. Isn't it amazing how something so big can disappear so easily? He's relaxed a little bit, so let me try and find a position where we can see him. It's going to be a bit tricky, but let's see what we can do. He's still looking at us suspiciously. He doesn't want to be famous. Try and reposition. Let's try backwards first. I don't think backwards is going to work. Well, we can see his head a little bit. Here's his face. And those very solid ossicones peeking out at us. Looking at us fairly wide-eyed. He's staring off into a different direction. Tax for Jamie. Sorry guys, I'm just getting hold of Tax on the radio. He's just given an interesting update. I was just wondering which Ngala those were. Copy that, thank you. I was just asking, he's got a sighting on Torchwood, which is also the fairly regular haunt of the Nkuhumas, but it's the Talamati pride, so not the Nkuhumas. I thought it might be the rest of them, and that would have been an interesting story because Torchwood is very close to where our two females are. Yeah, one more time, let's try and reposition for this big boy. He's being so shy. A large ditch, otherwise I would try and poke my nose in there. There we go, slightly better. And you can see how absolutely enormous he is. He really is a big boy. Probably... Sorry. Let my foot off the brake there. Jigger is full of creaks and groans at the moment. We were looking at this giraffe, and we noticed it earlier, Jeandré and I, but we were trying to get a good position to show you. But just have a look at the bald patch on his neck, and that most likely doesn't come from an injury. It probably comes from one of the skin diseases. You often see giraffe with bald patches like that. They get a variation of the herpes virus that causes either sort of bumps or polyps all over their skin, or they get these bald patches like the one that he has here. And in the greater scheme of things, it's not going to do him any harm at all. It makes a sort of a crusty coating. It probably is terribly itchy, I imagine, somehow. It just looks like one of those things that would be itchy, but it doesn't cause him any harm at all. Here we go, he's relaxed a little bit, enough to start feeding. It always interests me the different personalities of the animals that we see. Now we regularly see giraffe on the side of the road, and we stop and we have a look at them, and they're perfectly comfortable with us, even the youngest ones. And yet here we have an old bull who's spent his whole life seeing vehicles and being seen by vehicles, presumably. And yet he is a lot more camera shy than the rest. I wonder why that is. You have to wonder what his history shows. And maybe he has just strolled in from the Kruger Park, or one of the areas where there's less vehicles about, and all of a sudden he's being observed. It is interesting to watch. And it just goes to show that you cannot apply a blanket rule to any kind of animal sighting. It's all about reading their body language when you drive into it to see what they're up to. And now that he has relaxed and started feeding, maybe we might be able to inch forward to see him clearly. It's going to be tricky though. In fact, I think if I do, I'm going to scare him away. So let's stay in this position and just enjoy him feeding for a bit. Now that bald patch will probably attract, I don't know actually. I was about to say it probably attracts lots of ticks, but maybe if the skin is quite thick and scaly, they avoid that area. But the oxpeckers that float around him, I haven't seen that many at the moment, but they will definitely be targeting around there. And Ramey, I absolutely agree with you. I think he's a beautiful colour. He's got that really, really dark, almost black in places on his shoulders that you see in these old, mature bulls. And the wonderful thing about that colour is you know that it comes with such a life story. You have to wonder what he's seen in the last 15 or more years of his life. Especially from that height perspective. And one of the games I always play when I'm sitting with giraffe, and I like to sit with giraffe and look at them. And you know how when you're a child and you look at shapes in the clouds and try and make them into something? I always do that if I'm sitting on my own with giraffe, with their spot patterns. And sometimes it's difficult to see, but sometimes you get perfect stars or perfect hearts. They always have something interesting about them. And of course, if we really wanted to, we could identify individual giraffe that we get in the area. But unlike the lions and the leopards that we see regularly, they'll move through and then carry on. They're not really territorial. They might have a home range, but they're quite content to change that depending on where the best browsing opportunities are. I wonder if he might give us a nice view if I go backwards now. Let us see. And then we shall leave our camera-shy big bull. Try and find a nice position for you that we can see him clearly. He's watching us once again with a hint of suspicion. There we go. Finally, we've had the opportunity to have a fairly good look at him. Sort of. As close as we're going to get there, you can see he's got those skin conditions. Ooh, it's actually quite bad on that side of his neck. And those almost look... No, it is part of the same skin condition. I was about to say they look like injuries, but I think it's still part of the skin condition. Now, Ramey, you were wondering if that would extend all the way down to his legs, and it can. You do often see it, but most commonly, when you see giraffe with bad skin conditions, they sometimes get it around their ankles and their knees. Most of the time you see it around the sort of buttocks area, or around the stomach, and then up onto the shoulders and the neck. You don't see it as much, or maybe as clearly, as you do in those places. But they can get it on their legs. It can spread all around, all the way through them. Now, Ramey, just to continue with your questions, you were wondering how fast a giraffe can run. And I will tell you that it's the most amazing thing to watch a giraffe run. It's this smooth, they only have two strides. They either walk or they run. They can't trot like horses or anything like that. They move the same side of their body at the same time, which makes trotting absolutely impossible. But watching them gallop, it looks like the smoothest, slowest, it almost looks like they're moving in slow motion. But at the same time, those legs are 2 meters or more long. So you can imagine the incredible distance that they can cover. So in terms of speed, they can go very, very fast. I'm going to take a guess at around easily 40 kilometers an hour, probably around 50, which is, bear with me, maybe 20 to 25 miles per hour. They can move very, very fast. They cover ground incredibly rapidly. I'm checking to see if I can find a top speed in my book, but I can't. But I'm sure that they can run I know for sure that they can run very, very fast. And they can jump as well. It's not very graceful looking, but they can jump. You can imagine moving that bulk around though. There's probably about 900 kilograms of giraffe there, even more. No, I'd say more now for that big bull. But watching them run is awesome. It's just, there's something so ungainly about it. It's the same thing when you watch them stand up or lie down. It's such a foreign movement, the way that they move. If we look down a little bit, down his leg, he almost looks as though he's resting on one hip. You can see how that back right leg is bent. I think that's just to help him reach down to where he needs to eat. I've never seen a giraffe do that though, or stand like that before. It's interesting. Here we go, it's up. He may well have a bit of a limp. Nope, he was just resting on. Absolutely perfectly healthy and in his prime. That is the kind of bull who will have the best access to the giraffe when he has a chance to mate with Scott. So let's head across there for now, and I will.
One of the tallest animals in this area, 200. Look at how cool the moustache looks in the sunlight. This is a female. Oh, there it goes. Probably not, although Wium's not too much vegetation in the way, although it looks like it. Yay, we've got to see the rolling! There it goes! Awesome! Wow! A little bit more wild camera work, be able to try and show you the full display. But that was a bonus, and well done Wium on that camera work. Some monkey alarm calls earlier on in this general area, about half a mile away from us, and I think I might have stopped in the wrong spot, but this crested barbet is hopping around. We may get another view of it. They're incredibly pretty birds, but it looks like it's got comfortable in exactly the wrong spot, ruffling up its feathers there. Give it a moment or two and see if it doesn't hop onto another branch. No luck. But with the birds, and as we will see double the amounts of birds that we usually see in the winter months as the summer unfolds, we will continue to try and give you shots of them, but most of the time it will result in failure. But on these live safaris we have to take gambles, and there will be lots of gambling when it comes to our feathered friends. Very often they will fly off or fly in an area where the camera can't. approaching, or we're getting into a bit of a leopard drought. Another animal that's very useful for alarm calls are tree squirrels, which there was one perched perfectly in this beautiful torchwood tree, but as we stopped it hopped out of frame. It appears that it's not the wildebeest, aka Wium, or my morning, not having much luck. Said it doesn't appear to be Wium or my morning today to find the animals, and you'll be glad to know that Jamie has found another animal that she would like to share with you, so we're going to send you back to her, and hopefully we'll be able to resurrect things before the end of the safari and find you something else to look at. But for now, over to a hippopotamus.
Welcome back, and as we pan down from one torchwood tree to another, from Scott's to mine, let's have a look at what's happening at Buffelshoek Dam. And I just wanted to give you quite a good impression as to how much the water level has gone down. It's a bit more difficult to tell in Buffelshoek because it holds water well, but look at how high Bob is in his usual place, in the center of the dam, but with most of his back sticking out. And whilst he will still have deep patches, it's just interesting to see. We rejoiced when the rains fell, but in reality, when you have every day as sunny as this day is proving to be, reaching 30 to 32 degrees, that water is still going to disappear very, very quickly, unless we get some more serious rain. Now, interesting story about Bob. I've been keeping an eye on his tracks. I can't say for certain that they're his, but I'm almost certain. Yesterday, whilst I was following the leopard tracks down Buffelshoek Cut Line, I saw Bob's tracks going all the way from Sydney's dam back to here in one night. So you could see him leaving Buffelshoek Dam and walking towards Sydney's dam, which is in the far northwestern corner. It's actually on Buffelshoek, but the far northwestern corner of Djuma. And then all the way back again. And I think, although he goes for nightly visits to visit the rest of the hippos at Sydney's dam, it'd be interesting to know why Bob decides that he enjoys the solitude of Buffelshoek. It's obviously a very deliberate decision on his part. It might be purely because there's a lot of competition at Sydney's dam, which will also be shrinking steadily as the days get hotter. It might be that he comes here for a bit of escape and solitude, every now and again accompanied by his lady companion. But the water is looking very, very low. I'm just going to be quiet for a moment because I heard a noise that heralds the sign of more signs of spring. But they seem to have gone quiet now. I heard some banded rubber frogs calling and whistling around the dam. It's a sound that sounds very similar to a bird whistle, but unfortunately they've gone quiet once again. But you can actually see, as Jeandré is panning, you can sort of see how the waterline has receded. we have a look in that bank on the opposite side,
It's the female, it's the male that we can see a potential nesting site for them. And it would be wonderful if because we'll be designed beak that has a shock absorber to prevent them getting a headache. And that's all interconnected between the beak and the skull. And look at how hard he's hammering away there. Funny comment through from Kristen in Atlanta, and she says every time I whistle to mimic the bird calls, her dog jumps up excitedly. So sorry to be giving your dog these false alarms. And she would also like to know, what is my favorite bird and why? Tricky one, Kristen, because they're kind of different genres of birds. The birds of prey, the water birds, the tiny little birds that are easy to overlook. But if I did have to choose one bird, it would probably be the crowned eagle. It's an incredible predator, very beautiful colorations. We sadly don't get them here very often, and if we did find one here, it would kind of be passing between one very thick jungle-like area looking for another. So they prefer very dense woodland and thick jungle-like environments where they will ambush prey as big as monkeys and duiker. They have got incredibly large talons as big as my hands and are incredibly powerful birds. So that is probably my favorite bird, the crowned eagle. Let's take a closer look though and see how this guy is getting along. The female is just sitting patiently waiting for him to finish building their new home. What I might do is try and roll forward just a few meters to see if we can get a better view of her as well. Oh, no, that didn't work. She's popped up. Then just zooms out a little bit on the top right there. And you'll notice that she lacks the kind of red marking below her beak that he has. They've both got that bright red head. Oh, she's come for a closer inspection at a new home. Let me have a look, she's saying. He's too hard at work to give her a chance. Interestingly, these birds will feed mainly on termites and ants. And I'm wondering if there aren't any termites eating this dead part of the tree that this male's trying to access. Hard to say, either that or a nest site. Have they just swapped roles? I can't tell now who's who. Oh no, now the female's doing the digging. Interesting, look at that. So now the female's taking a turn, and the male's hopped up elsewhere. The birdsong is incredible this morning. They're loving the sunny weather after that cold, misty morning. Testiculars, crested barbets. I even heard a fish eagle off in the distance. So I think it's definitely going to be worth monitoring this cavity closely. I can't tell whether it's feeding that they're doing. There is a strong chance that there could be some termites. Oh, she just removed a large chunk of wood there, so I think it could well be a future nest site. Quite nice to see that both the male and the female are taking turns in renovating their new home. And we'll come back here at some point and see how much further they've got. Remarkable how quickly the temperature has increased in just about the last 15 or 20 minutes. The sun's been having a very powerful effect on us. Okay, well, Jamie's got an interesting sighting for you, so we're going to race you back to her. Hopefully the squirrel is actually shouting at something that Jamie will be able to find for you.
Somewhere on that branch was a very frantic squirrel, but all of a sudden as we came through, he just ducked out of the way of being seen. He was silent alarm calling almost. He's flicking his tail in distress. I've spotted one that's poking out of the other side of that branch if we go down a little bit. And I think what it was that caused it. Have you got him there, Jeandré? The other one is poking his head out down at the right near the base. Just at that scrape mark there. It's a mud rubbing. There we go. So the squirrels are frantically looking at something, and I think it was the fish eagle that came soaring through at a very low height. It's just disappeared. But it was very interesting to see. And this, I wonder where that other little one went. Let me shift forward a little bit, see if that squirrel sticks around for us to see. Because it was highly entertaining behavior. And actually, now that I'm looking at it, I think this tree might be the center point of a bird feeding party as well. Peeping at me. Something squeaking at me. Can't work out if it's the... Oh, it's the starling. It's definitely the starling calling. And there's our uptight squirrel as well, doing his thing. I think it might be a conflict between two squirrels now that I'm looking at it. He's tucked, not going to be very clear, he's tucked in there. There you can see his, oh, there he goes. I'm going to be quiet for a moment so you can hear him. Look at that body language. Look at the angry flicks of his tail. Such a cross squirrel. What's got you so mad? Are you fighting? That's not the typical alarm call of a panicked squirrel. That's the little aggressive squeaks. But obviously something happened just before we arrived between the two of them. I don't know where the second squirrel's vanished off to. I'm not entirely sure this squirrel knows either. He's looking for him. Look at the tail go. That must be exhausting. Oh, such a cross squirrel. What's the matter? Well, there's definitely time to stop and eat, regardless of your mood. Nibbling away on this. What tree have we got here? Look at him scrambling. He looks like an acrobat. Quick scratch. I wonder how incredibly agile they are. I'm sure not the easiest thing in the world to film. Not really predictable. Hello. Poking your head out the other side. Well, this has been a really fun morning and so interesting that we've got those Nkuhuma lionesses to follow up on for this sunset safari. We're just going to stick around and watch the squirrel for the last few minutes. Where did you go? Come back. I can hear you squeaking. Still haven't figured out where he went. But definitely a very angry looking squirrel. So maybe because there's so many birds around him in this bird feeding party. Anyway, I'd like to say a big thank you to you all as we end off our sunrise safari. It's gone from that misty, beautiful morning to now a really bright and beautifully sunny day. I think it's going to be another scorcher here. And hopefully those two lionesses will be hanging out where we left them in the shade on that termite mound for us to go back and find this afternoon. And we can definitely expect them to be on the move, especially when it gets cooler, and heading out to go and hunt something. So we'll keep our fingers crossed for this afternoon's sunset safari. So please join us then. And in the meantime, I'll say a big thank you to Jeandré for all of his help at his camera work. It's just male impalas causing trouble. And thank you to all of the viewers for your questions and your help with identifying the lions. And we will catch up with you with the sunset. Let's try that again. With the sunset safari. Have a wonderful day wherever you are, and I will catch you then.
Welcome back, everyone. We thought we had found another bird's nest in this area, the greater blue-eared starling, was the bird that we had seen, and it was digging in a small kind of crack in an apple leaf tree behind us, but as soon as we came a little bit closer by, they disappeared. So yet again another feathered false alarm. But we'll continue to keep trying to show you the birds, and eventually we will continue to get more good visuals of them. And it seems like the birds were the main contribution that Wium and I contributed to the safari this morning, so I hope you enjoyed that. Anyway, big thanks to all your help and support. Well done to Jess and Nikki in the final control room, and thanks again to Wium on camera. We'll see you all on the next safari in a few hours' time.